can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Hello.
Hey. I have had, I don't know what gremlins are happening all over. It's just been crazy. So I apologize, you guys. I'm late because something is happening internet wise or whatever. And all of a sudden I was getting a lot of black screen and little blue circles going round and round and round, and everything I was touching and hitting to go live didn't happen. So hi. Teri gave us Teri. I hope your day is going better than mine. Technically,
mine has actually been fantastic. But
well, good.
You know, that's that nauseating thing. Mine's been good. It's been real good. I went and picked up my car today from the shop, and
hey,
yeah,
that part is
had the oil change last week, and they didn't realize that when they tightened the gasket, they cracked it. And so I drove it home, and I had literally 7 quarts of oil on my driveway. So it's concrete driveway. So I'm spending time trying to get that cleaned up. But I carried it back out there and they got it fixed. And so
did they tell you to use Dawn dishwashing detergent?
They did. They said Dawn, and that didn't work. And they said Coca-Cola, and that didn't work. And they said cat litter, and that didn't work. And they said dry Tide powder and let it paste it up and let it sit. And I haven't done that yet. So I mean, I'm not pressed over it. Do I like the oil stains on my driveway? No, but you know, I'm not battling a life-threatening illness, and I have food in my stomach and in my cabinet. So I'm just not going to stress the small stuff. My car is fixed. It's all good. And Nanette loves my pond. So it's all good.
That is good. That is good. Well, the topic today you gave us, and we're talking about, you turned a noun into a verb, somedaying.
Yeah, when we're somedaying.
And let's talk about that. Let's open that up. I mean, a lot of people have been somedaying and they don't even know what that is.
Well, I was talking with a client the other day, and she said, you know, how do I get out of this mindset of, you know, well, someday I'm going to do that, you know, someday. And we end up procrastinating a lot of times, and someday just never really comes. And then we have another reason why we can't, you know, well, because now I don't have the money, or I'm afraid to, or my hair's too gray, or my butt's too flabby, or whatever it is. We all have a reason why we don't. So I was sitting there talking with her, and I thought, I wonder how many people spend their time somedaying, you know, someday I'm going to do that. One day, someday, at some point, you know, and they never really get to it. What are the obstacles that are keeping you? Like, what are the real obstacles that are keeping you from making those moves? What's the benefit for you for staying in that space? And what's the positives for letting yourself do that someday? Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's, you know, it can be anything.
Yeah, well, I know I'm very guilty of it. Elizabeth joins us. Hey, Elizabeth. And she's like, yep, that's me. And Corinne, we have missed you, Corinne. I haven't got to see you in a while. And Corinne made a move. Her someday came true. She moved from the great frozen north down south. And so she's hopefully not going to be snowed in all the way up to her door jams this time. You know, it's like
Corinne came from New York, right? Buffalo area.
I think so. If we're not, Corinne, correct us if we're wrong. I think that's where you are from, and moving to Florida, I think. So that's been that's talk about a culture shock and a big change.
Absolutely. But
a lot of us wait our whole lives for things that we are someday I'll write a book. Someday I'll finish that book, and I can't tell you how many people that I know have said those words because they've asked me, oh no, Corinne says, yep, in Georgia, and signed up for violin lessons.
Good
Look
for
at
her.
you. That is so cool. What is something that you guys have been somedaying? Maybe you're getting to your someday now. Maybe you are reaching out and finishing up those dreams.
Yeah, what are they? What are some of those things? And what are the obstacles for keeping you not doing it?
Yeah. And you're right. She was in Buffalo. I had wanted my whole life to write a book, and I talked about writing. I went to school to write. When I went to New York, I was writing, and I took classes to write. And one day I had a catalyst, and I started writing a story, and I figured out that my obstacle was that I hadn't had the impetus to do it. I hadn't had the trigger to pull to say, okay, now it's your time. And my horse died. My beloved heart horse, Maria, passed away. And I wrote her story. And then another story about another animal. And then another story. And that became the book, My Angels Wear Fur, which was my first book that I got signed to a publisher. And it was they always say, write what you know, and be real and be authentic. Now, I had written proposals for books, and I could paper the walls with pink rejection letters. And now you can self-publish, and you can publish ebooks and things, and it's much, much easier. You can do it without a publisher. You can do all those kind of things. So, but at the time, you really, unless you had a big bankroll, you couldn't really publish your own book.
Right.
It was cost prohibitive, and you just didn't have much of a choice of ever getting it anywhere. But I think that for me, it was that thing that said, you have to write this. You have to do this. And I just wondered if anybody else ever had a thing where they go, I've been hit by this, and I have to do this thing that I've been putting off.
Yeah. I mean, and it can be, like I said, it can be anything. It can be, some people it's cutting their hair. Some people it's losing weight. Some people it's leaving a relationship. Some people it's getting in a relationship. Some people it's, cleaning their house. For some people it's buying a new car. For some people, I mean, it can be anything. It can be, there's so many things that we oftentimes, more times than not, it's, it can be like travel or something like that, where it's like, well, even, and I'm not talking about like trips to Europe or anything. I'm talking about like, maybe you're visiting family or friends or whatever. And it's just like, we just put it off, What is the reason that what is the reason that people put themselves in strongholds and they keep themselves there? Most of the time, that's a comfort thing, because they don't know, like in your case, writing a book, you don't know if it's going to be successful or not. And the fear of the lack of success can keep people stuck. The fear of starting over on anything can keep people stuck. So the question is, what do we get out of that? And people will say to me all the time, I don't get anything out of that. I don't get anything out of being in this position. And I'm like, do you somehow feel safe? Well, I mean, yeah, it's, I don't have to worry about getting hurt, or I don't have to worry about rejection, or I don't have to worry about whatever. That's something that we glean from staying in whatever.
I think fear is at the root of all of it. I think fear of the unknown, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of, well, what if I finish this and it doesn't matter? And I think that one of the things that I had to learn is I had to completely divorce myself of the idea that there would be an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I literally wrote a story about a horse that had affected me because I was hurting so bad. And that's how I dealt with my grief. And then another thing happened in another story. And that's how, because I couldn't not do it. the things that you've been putting off. Corinne, what made you decide to start taking violin lessons? I wonder about that. Tim Bradley joins us. And Tim, talk about somebody who has taken life by the horns and is just doing so many great things. Tim, I'm so glad to see you. Good afternoon. Happy Thanksgiving. Grateful, blessed, and thankful for you both. Love to you both and many more. Sending big old hugs to you both. Love y'all. We love you, Tim.
We do.
Glad to have you.
And, yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like, what are some of the things? I know we have a lot of people that comment, you know, on our show. And then I know that there's a lot of people that watch and they don't comment. But I'm just curious, like, what are maybe you don't want to share what the thing is you don't want to do or you want to do, but you're not letting yourself do. What are some of the obstacles? Is it time, money, exposure, fear, you know, just, you know, if it's any of those kind of things, just comment that word. Devon doesn't have to, I don't see the comments until she puts them up on the screen. So nobody's going to see it until she posts it. So she doesn't even have to post your name. She can just throw out there and say, well, we're getting some comments that say it's this, or this, you know, because a lot of times we do use our learned mechanisms to propel us forward. And if our learned mechanisms are fear, then it's a push-pull forward.
I love the sound of the violin, Corinne says. Took lessons before and stopped.
Nice.
That's another question to bring up. Maybe you started something as a kid, or maybe you started something before and you just stopped. Was it financial? Was it something like that? I think a lot of people start something and it's not as easy, you know, and Annette is agreeing with me. I think it's fear. I think there's a lot of fear. I think people live in our world. We have so much fear going on, especially right now. And Corinne says, I found a teacher in Georgia, told her this time I want to have fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we're younger, we're doing things not because when you're 5, 6, 7 years old or 10 years old, and it's like, yeah, that'll be fun. You know, we don't recognize, I've worked with a lot of college students, and we don't recognize that when we start doing something, you know, at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you want to play soccer, it's because you have fun playing soccer outside. It's fun to kick a ball around. You know what's not fun? Following the rules and having to learn the game and getting screamed at when you don't do something the right way and having all the pressure and all of that. That's not fun. That doesn't mean we don't enjoy the sport, but as we get older, the pressure shifts and it becomes more. And so we can be hesitant to see that through, you know. And I mean, I work with a lot of high school kids that play sports in high school, and they are being recruited by colleges, but they don't want to go to college to play sports. They're ready to actually create their own identity outside of what they became when they were 5.
Right.
You know,
I think sometimes people steal our dreams, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Elizabeth adds, my biggest somedays seem to center around things that I would do for myself. Ooh, that's big. That's big. Even little silly things like learning to play the guitar or horseback ride. I'm not quite sure why, but I suspect it centers around not being able to do it well enough. Perfectionistic tendencies here. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectionism. There is a really good book, and we can talk while I search, but I'm going to give you guys the name of it. I don't know if I've given you the name of it or not before. So go ahead and talk, Devon, and I'm going to search.
Okay. Well, I think too, for me, a lot of times I've given up on things because I had perfectionistic teachers, and I may have wanted to do something, but then I had a teacher that was so, this is the way it has to be. And one thing I've learned as I've gotten older, and every year I'm more convinced of this, you know, when there's this a horrible old phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Being creative, you can do things different ways. And I mean, I even still to this day, I work with people who, if it's not their way, it's wrong.
Right.
And being with people who will let you learn something that you love in a way that you want to learn it. Now, I don't mean, like brain surgery. I mean, there's probably a right way to do that. And so you probably have to learn the basics. And I always say it's even with songwriting. I work with a lot of people and they say, well, this is the way I'm going to do it. Well, probably 10 verses is a little too long, but I said, but learn the basics and then stretch out. Let's stretch out. Let's try that. Yeah. And Corinne says, yeah, that was my previous violin teacher. I think that's a lot of people. We've had the person who said, be perfect, be perfect, be perfect. You just wanted to have fun.
Right.
Hi, ladies. Leslie joins us.
Right. The book that I was mentioning is The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control. And it is by Catherine Morgan Schaeffer.
Okay. What is it? One more time.
The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control. Let's see if I can hold it up here on the thing. This is what it looks like. Oops.
Okay.
It is a really good book, and it speaks to what Elizabeth was saying about feeling like you won't do it good enough.
Yeah.
It really,
you don't try.
Yeah, it really gives a lot of weight to how we are, how we see ourselves as perfectionists. And sometimes that does stop people from doing things. It stops people from even getting in relationships because they need things done a certain way. And it's like, but that's not really life. Life doesn't really unfold that way.
Graham joins us. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Are you back in Australia? It was lovely to see you this visit. It was great to see you both. Graham and his lovely wife came to see me at Backstage Nashville. It was great to have them in town. He watches all the time, and Elizabeth's put the link to The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control.
And I will tell you this, you can buy it and read it. I always recommend, and that it has to do primarily with the work that I do with people, because when our brains are oversaturated with expectations and obligations and all that stuff, I tell people to find audiobooks or to read it on Audible. I know Audible's a little different. You get points and you buy the book and you got it forever, but you can rent it free if you have a library card. If you don't have a library card, you can go online, apply for a library card. They'll send you the number and you can upload the Libby app, Libby, on your Android or it's the public library app. And you can search it and it's there. And I think you rent it for like 14 days or borrow it for 14 days. And then you can recheck it out. So it's a freebie.
Yeah. Well, libraries are fun. I mean, they just are, and having your chance to get something in borrow book or an audible book or even movies and things. I mean, they really do offer so much, so much. Graham says he's going home on Saturday. Well, they're heading home. They've had a month here in the States. So that's been fun. It's been good to have them. They had planned a trip here in 2020 and they got stuck, in the travel, and they couldn't leave a hotel it was just a nightmare. That's another thing. People have had something bad happen in travel and it's kept them from trying again. I've had some travel nightmares myself. And so it is difficult. It is very difficult once you've had something bad happen. A bad experience is hard to kind of wash out of your hair. Tim mentions fear can be crippling with my perfection side, but as getting older, we put so much pressure on ourselves, but by putting forth the effort breaks down our fears and having to be perfect all the time. People who've gone through divorce, a bad relationship, you start living in fear that same kind of person will come along. And I've heard the phrase, my picker is broke.
Do you know why fear tends to be, or worry or anxiety tends to be the go-to when you have had relationships, or not just relationships, but when you've had experiences that have gone away that you wished it hadn't have gone? Like the brain, and I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it here or not, but the brain works on percentages. So if you have received messages during your life that you're not, you need to be good. You need to be better than good. You need to be the best. And even if you haven't heard someone actually say that to you, but you've been, the message has been implied. Then what, and it starts in school where kids are making 4.0s and they get upset when they make a minus because it's not good enough, or I got an 18 on my ACT. I'm going to take it 5 more times because I want to get a, whatever it is, 21 or whatever. That chasing that little gremlin is so toxic for us. But the brain works on percentages. So what happens is if you've had 1 or 2 or 3 funky relationships, the brain goes to the percentage. Well, what's the odd that this next one's going to be any different? It's not, because all these other ones, I mean, look at the history. The brain goes to the Rolodex and it starts, sifting through it. And so we have to be willing to look at that fear and really dissect it. What is the fear about? Is it not being good enough? Why do you feel you have to be good enough? What's the gain or the loss for not being good enough? And a lot of times it really is something that has been planted, programmed, imprinted on us from an early age. And let's be real, with social media these days, and I'm not, it's not to bag on social media, but social media these days, it's, people can say what they want to say. They can look so different, they can present a life that's not really their life, but unless you watch some people on social media and their lives are just shit shows and they're okay putting all that out there, and,
and they do,
people feel better, I guess, but it's like, okay. But when we get into that not enoughness and that measuring, then the perfection is really based on us feeling like we're not measuring up to other people. And we start setting this unrealistic expectation that we need to be measuring up. And that will stop us from doing the things that we sometimes want to do. If your deal is perfectionism, it'll, it can stop you from doing the things that you want to do, because you can micromanage yourself into anxiety over it needing to be just right. And the reality, I think I use the perfect example of wedding pictures, right? And graduation pictures. We spend so much time creating everything just right for wedding pictures or for graduation pictures. And let's be real, you fade in and fade out a couple of decades and you're going to look a hot mess anyway. Like, it's not, you're going to look back and you're going to go, oh my God, what was I thinking? Look at my hairstyle, look at my clothes. So even in that moment of thinking you have reached the pinnacle of perfectionism, a few decades later, it's still not good enough. You can use perfectionism. There's an unhealthy part of it, and then there's a healthy part of it. Mm-hmm. There's a fine line between the two.
Yeah. Melody Guy, Ketchum. Melody Guy, if you look up her music on anywhere that you stream music, anywhere that you get music, anywhere where you get a chance to see music, if you see the name Melody Guy, you go see her, download everything she's got. Melody, the name of your song, it won the Just Plain Folk Song of the Year, but it's a song that will just kill you about people like me. And I want you to put that song title in there. It's a powerful song. I just love it, but I'm terrible with song titles. I never get them right. But if you would put that title in there, and I want everybody to go and watch it, because it's Mistake. Yeah. What are you going to do with mistakes like me? It's just what we're talking about here. It's the most powerful song. And if I had it, I would play it right now, but I don't. Mistake Like Me. That, look it up and find it. Graham says we need to be happy with who we are and respect and lift others up. It's true. It's true. Jill, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Jill. I think sometimes what I have found looking back is I kind of find a little bit on the opposite side. I kind of look back and go, well, dang, I was so worried then about I was too fat. I was too this. I was too that. And I go, that's kind of cute. Oh, Melody put us a link to the video right there. So
Perfect.
That's wonderful. You guys go watch that today. After the show, I want you to go and listen to that because it's powerful. Then you're going to want everything that she's ever done. You're going to want to download it. I look back and sometimes, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen this, you kind of think, I was just a mess when I was in high school. I mean, I grew up in a place that was very perfectionistic, expected a lot of me. And is my years of braces and acne and all this other stuff. But now I look back and I go, well, I wasn't terrible. Well, I was kind of cute, or I was kind of this, I mean, it's like, and so I think that sometimes we have to look, and each of our ages has that moment where we go, you know what, we're exactly what we're supposed to be right now.
Absolutely, girl. I've looked back at my high school and college pictures and thought, damn, I wish I was as fat now as I thought I was then. I mean,
so thank you so much. And
she's
melodyguide.com is where you can find everything on her website. Elizabeth says, I found that as I age, the perfectionism is weakening and it does feel good. Yeah.
Well, the only person that really, aside from parents when we're younger, parents, family, maybe music teachers or coaches, the only people that really, once we're out of that nest, so to speak, the only people that really grind our gears on perfectionism is us. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to say that I'm not a perfectionist. I'm that person that I can watch 1 hour and 35 minutes of a Lifetime movie and it's got 10 minutes left. And I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go fix a sandwich and take the dog for a walk. And my mom is like, what? Like, you got to see the rest of it. You got to watch it. I'm like, nah, I'm good. There are, I think all of us have a little bit of orderly ideation to us, but there's a different level when it goes into the true sense of perfectionism,
Yeah.
And the question is, why do we, as Jill was saying, too many years of trying to be perfect? Why do we try to be perfect? What are we hoping to attain in that? Like, what are we hoping, wishing, wanting, needing? What's the end game for being perfect? Or, what's the end game for putting off something that you have said for years and years and years you want to do? What is the win in that for yourself?
I spend a lot of time helping people and trying to counsel them on how to, they don't understand why people don't engage with their social media. They don't understand. I mean, I'm sitting here trying and I'm trying to get them to engage. And I said, well, maybe it's because you try to be too perfect. And by that, I mean, if we can strive to be authentic rather than perfect, I think that that's what people are hungry for in this world today. And whether it's in your relationship, whether it's social media, whether it's in your job, whether it's in your day-to-day, searching to be authentic, who you are. I mean, without all the bumps and bruises and scars along the way that have made us, I think our search to find that authentic person that is within us is going to lead us to some of the outcomes that we've been wanting all along.
Sure. And try something new. Maybe it's, who knows what it is. I mean, try something new, something easy, something simple. I tell you, I love broccoli cheddar soup. I love it. I could bathe in it. I love it. And I've never made it before. And just yesterday I said, let me just get the stuff to make this. I'm going to make it. Now in my head, I thought, Lord, I am not a cook. Like, I've been raised in the South my whole life and my biscuits are like hockey pucks. I am not a cook. But actually, that's not true. I am a cook. I'm actually pretty good at it when I apply myself. But cooking is not a priority for me. I like to cook sometimes if it's something I want to cook. but I don't want to have to live up to the standards of being able to make the best gravy or the best biscuits like, family has made in the past.
Right.
That's not my forte. But I'm going to tell you this, sister. My broccoli cheddar soup would have made your tongue slap your brains out. It was so good. It was so good.
I love it. I love it. Elizabeth says, I learned at a very young age that the image we presented to the outside world was what was important. I think maybe some of my some days come from what it would look like to others. Gosh, we're complicated beings at times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's where our images come from, right? I mean, we do get to a point in life where we become more individualized, but for the most part, we wear our hair certain ways. I mean, I know people that they still wear their hair the same way they wore it in high school. There's no judgment to that. That's just what they're comfortable with. They don't want to change things. I know people who have loved people outside of their race, but they won't be in a relationship with them because of what their family might think. I know people who want to buy a truck or a sports car or something like that, but they won't do it because their family doesn't do that. They won't go to the Dodge because their family are Ford people. I mean, it's that kind of, and yes, Elizabeth is right. I mean, we're babies when we're little. We're like little birds. We eat, we squawk, and we poop and pee. Like, that's what we do. And people imprint us from a very early age. Oh, I'm going to put you in this color. Oh, I'm going to do your hair this way. Oh, and then when you get older, you just learn that you learn that that's who you are, but that's not really who you are. That's who you've been. That's the canvas that's been painted,
I was always a rebel in that category. I had a tendency to, as soon as I got my freedom, I took it and I just did everything I wanted to do differently than I was told that I had to do it, and what will people think became something I just took out of my vernacular. I think all of us in a way have been in search for our authentic self, our authentic person that, the kid that wanted to color in coloring books. Well, guess what? You can still do that.
Absolutely.
And there's usually a someday thing that you have been putting aside. Maybe you started it and you didn't finish it. Maybe it's something that you've never tried. Well, now's the day to try it. My friend Lane, survivor of 2 heart attacks, cancer 3 times, lung cancer, could not walk across the room. And he's my hero because he signed up for a dance class.
Awesome.
At 74. And now he's winning all of these dance competitions and he just loves it. And he just took this on. And I just think, how cool to start something, and I laughed because he works at a senior center, helping the older people, many of whom are younger than he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally is in that place when you find your authentic self, find your authentic age inside and kind of start working toward that. You can always get more out of the days that you've got, because we've all been given days. It's what we squeeze out of the orange that makes it worth it.
Right.
Corinne says, I'm still learning who I am.
Right.
Yeah. And every day, I guess it's part of it. Jill says, I definitely walk to the beat of my own drum today. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, as we age, we do. I mean, it takes us, sometimes it's self-discovery can be a little challenging, and it does keep us from doing things that we want to do when we put our someday in the pocket, and then, that's what I tell people all the time. Don't put your someday in the pocket of somebody else, because if they up and leave, then what? I challenge everybody, do something easy, do something simple. Later this afternoon, 2 projects. Well, first, I haven't, the girls, the ladies that are in the Monday night Wise Women and Sage Sisters group, they know about this, but so Nanette will know about this and EB will know about this, but I found a chicken coop that sits on the ground that I'm going to make into a duck hut. And I have already begun making it into a duck hut because I have ducks on my pond. So I'm going to make them a little cute habitat. What I'm going to have to fight myself on is building a little habitat community, because I really only need one little structure, but I've seen several out there that I'm like, ooh, I'm in love with this one. So I'm going to be working on that this evening. And the other thing, thank you, Elizabeth. And the other thing is I'm going to make butter today. I saw Martina had posted a thing on butter. And so I sent her a text and I was like, girl, I need to know, is it as easy as it looks? And turns out it is. So
It is, yeah.
I'm going to go into the kitchen after venturing out with my broccoli cheese soup last night, and I'm going to make butter today. And it's going to be fabulous.
Oh, I saw her video. I saved it to try.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, I will tell y'all it is just as easy, because in Vacation Bible School, we used to make butter, and we'd take that mayonnaise jar and just pass it around the room, and we'd shake, and then pass it on. Shake. You didn't even have to have a fancy butter churn.
I just have a handheld blender or mixer thingy, whatever that thing is, and then two little blender. That's what I'm going to use. See, that's how much of a cook I am. I don't know. That's what I'm going to use.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to work out.
Heavy cream and a hand mixer. Yeah. Or an old mayonnaise jar will do just fine too.
Girl, that's a lot of energy now.
Well, it was, we were in first, second, third grade. I mean, all we had was
a lot of hands shaking that stuff around the thing.
Oh, they just gave it
breaking out in carpal tunnel, sitting there trying to shake. I'm just going to use my little blender, but I'm sure it's going to be tasty.
I mean, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic.
I already know it. That's good. What's that?
Yeah. It is true. Yeah. Well, I mean, the people who are off grid, or who are like, I watch all these, people who are off grid, and I mean, the homesteaders, I just love what they do. There's this whole thing about how to keep eggs for a year by putting it in pickling lime and water in a jar, and you can save them. The eggs are good for a year. Because
now, see, that's my weirdness in my head. Like, I don't care if you pickle them. I don't care what you do to them. There's certain things that they are not good for a year. And Teri's mine. So I can't be having no part of that. No.
I would. I'd try all that stuff. Elizabeth says my food exploration this afternoon is going to be homemade fresh cranberry juice.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I mean,
Teri's sound effects made me laugh.
It was what I was doing with it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to try something different when we get outside of our head that it's not going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I just realized I'm covered in stain. When I threw my hand up there, I saw some stain. I'm also making a duck ramp. They're wild mallards. I'm sure they're not going to put their asses on a ramp, but it's going to make me feel good to look out there and see the little ramp in the water. So that's what I'm doing.
You might be surprised. I mean, honest to goodness, they're all smarter than we think they are.
They are, and their favorite colors are blue and green. Well, not favorite. That's my word. They prefer blue and green. So I'm going to paint the duck hut blue or green. Oh. I started out with 3 about, 4 weeks ago. I have 18 now. It's because I feed them every day. And I talk to them. And they all stand at attention and come down. So it's my thing. Fun. That and the blue herring just flew off a few minutes ago. I have 2 blue herring here too. And
Elizabeth said you're making an Eddie Bauer duck hut.
I am.
I think that's
I have a client that lives in Falmouth, Massachusetts, but when you write it out, it looks like foul mouth. Yeah. And I got tickled because I thought I should just like on the little, I'm even making a little welcome sign for the front of it. And I thought I should like name it. It's the Duck Hut. So it'll be fun. I'll enjoy it even if they don't.
True. But they will. They'll enjoy it. All God's creatures, they go, well, this is handy. I'll use it. I mean, it is kind of funny with that. I will say that sometimes I've got a lot of things on Facebook Marketplace because with domestic animals, we have kind of taken some of that out of their lives, So you'll have a dog that won't use his dog bed or a cat who won't use, whatever. Anyway, Leslie says, I have lots of ducks that meet me at the door when I go out to my backyard.
See, I love that. I love that. I'm not a chicken fan because we had a rooster named Pecker, go figure, when I was little. My grandmother did, and he used to chase me and Donna around, and he was mean. He's a mean little cuss. And so I just don't particularly care to be around. I don't trust them. They're sketchy. So ducks are a little different. Plus their beaks are fatter. So I'm thinking they can't hurt as bad. But they don't come over on this side of the pond. It's kind of a kidney-shaped pond, kind of. So they stay over there. I'm not trying to be friends with them and love on them. I just want to smile when I look over at their little habitat and I see them over there eating.
Elizabeth's laughing. I know a sketchy rooster or two. Yes.
You got a sketchy rooster. You got one that dares you to get in the car.
I know.
Or get out of the car.
Well, he has calmed down. He has moved to the backyard. He's got his 3 women back there, and he is not bothering me. And the other one, it did not meet a good end, not because of me. I'm very sad that he did. I mean, I look at it this way. Even a sketchy rooster is doing his job, so it's okay. It's okay. Corinne says, off topic, I hate the friggin' bugs in Georgia. And that's the way we're going to end the show.
That's right. I love an off topic.
I know. I hate the friggin' bugs in Georgia.
There you go. And they'll probably be plentiful, Corinne, because you have the cold weather. You had the cold weather in New York to kill them off seasonally. And I know Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, sometimes the winters don't get too cold. So things don't really go into full blown hibernation. They're huge. Mm-hmm.
I know the people that my friend Marshall went down to New Orleans to spend the weekend, and he woke up and he heard this clicking sound, and he turned on the light, and it was those great big palmetto roaches, the big flying roaches.
Oh yeah.
like he came after me. And anyway, Elizabeth says, have you seen the 2-inch long wasps yet? New Jersey still has fleas. Go figure. Jill is weighing in. Now we've gone into bugs. So that's a way
now
for us
we've gone into bugs. That's right.
We're all good. And have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. God is thankful for the bugs because they all serve a purpose. And I don't know what that is, but they do.
They do. And that's a good thing. And I'm glad that, Corinne has got relocated to Georgia and is enjoying it down there. And I'm also glad that Elizabeth is back from her cruise because she was cruising.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you, Nanette.
Mm-hmm. And Karen, who just joined us, we have chickens on top of Lookout Mountain, but no ducks. Well, Karen, I'm the chicken girl out of this group. So good. Jill says, love to all of you. Corinne, happy Thanksgiving. Well, you guys join us after Thanksgiving next week. We're going to have a gathering, and it's Wednesdays around noon. If Lord willing, and I don't have technical issues this next time.
And I'll save the link.
Okay.
We're good.
We're trying some new stuff here. I mean, StreamYard, where we used to broadcast, they have a thing where you reserve your same studio and you just go back to the same place. And then I got here and then I didn't realize I had to do some other things to make that work, but it's all okay.
It's all good. I'm going to jump off of here because it is 1:58 where I am because I'm on the Eastern time zone and I have a 2:00 client. So I have 2 minutes to get off of StreamYard and get on to Zoomy Zoom. And yeah, I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, we hope each one of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hope your hearts and your bellies and your minds are filled with yumminess. And don't be afraid to try something new, even if it's taking some heavy whipping cream and making some butter. I didn't know what it meant when they said it was breaking. I was really confused, and I still don't really know what the hell it means. But I'm going to post and let y'all know how that butter turned out. And take time to check in to see what you've been somedaying away. Maybe make a little list. And if it's still a priority to you, then maybe take a couple of action steps to get you in that direction. Doesn't mean you have to have it all accomplished by tomorrow, but just maybe someday becomes today.
Well, Abida Leslie's also checking in. Pam Hires just jumped in there to say she was watching, and to say she loves you.
Nice.
And
we love everybody.
We do, everybody, all the purple people eaters.
That's right. Purple people. I don't know what you meant by that, but okay, I'm riding with it. Okay, purple people eaters. There we go.
I know. There's some oldies music, that a purple people eater. Okay,
that's
anyway.
Right. Well, and now see, you said that. Now I've got itty bitty yellow polka dot
bikini.
Okay,
it's time for Thanksgiving. It is time.
It is time for that or a nap. I don't know which, but you guys and gals, please increase your peace, and we will see